Well, welcome back to Swordbox. Yesterday when we left off, we were talking about pride and how pride caused Satan to rebel and sin against God, and the dangers of pride, of course, that threaten us all. And like Paul, we need to learn that sometimes the sufferings or the trials that we have no control over and that God will not remove are perhaps the one thing that are keeping us humble and dependent on Christ and away from the destruction and the corruption that comes from a proud heart. So iniquity, sin, has been found in Lucifer, and pride has led not to his ascension, but to his descension. And as we know, our God is holy. He is without sin, and so Lucifer could no longer dwell in the presence of God. So instead of moving up, the now corrupted angel was cast off of God's holy mountain. But when we understand just how destructive and wicked pride can be, we ought to desire to walk in humility and avoid focusing on ourselves. Just look at the result, like I said yesterday, of one fallen angel's pride and the results we see in the world today. Now, we might wonder here why God didn't just destroy Lucifer. Just eliminate him, and that'd be the end of it. Certainly God could have if he chose to, but God didn't. And while Lucifer was now losing his place and his place of privilege and blessing in heaven, he was not stripped of all of his power. God allowed Lucifer to continue to live. However, his fate was sealed, and he could never again be holy and perfect as God had made him before. We see no redemptive plan for angels as we do for mankind in the Scriptures. Lucifer, now we call Satan, or the adversary of God, also referred to as the devil, now a fallen angel with corrupted wisdom, no longer holy. He had attempted to ascend to the place of God, desiring himself to be like God, to be in charge, to be worshipped as God. But it didn't work out for him. And Satan was not satisfied to be rebellious on his own. His corruption spread to a third of the angels in heaven, who joined him in his rebellion towards God. Angels, Satan no doubt influenced and led away. In Revelation 12:4, we have a reference to the third part of the stars in heaven being cast to the earth. A reference, I believe, that is to these angels, these fallen angels. So a third of them, that's a bunch of demons. And now, while Satan was removed from God's holy mountain, as we see in the book of Job, he, and I'm assuming his rebellious followers, still have some access to heaven. In Revelation 12:7, there's a great war in heaven resulting in Satan and his angels being cast down to the earth. And Jesus, referring to this, or possibly just metaphorically, speaking of Christ's victory over Satan, said this in Luke 10:18, and he said to them, I saw Satan fall like a lightning from heaven. But, there's going to be a time where they will have no more access to heaven. But I do believe for now, just going through what we've seen in Job, that it's possible that he still does have to present himself before God. We don't know for sure. But we do know that the devil's fate is sealed. God has already passed judgment on them, and it is why hell was created. Matthew 25:41 says, Then he will also say to those on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire. And this is important. Prepared for the devil and his angels. That's what hell was made for. 2 Peter 2:4, For if God did not spare the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into the chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment. Jude 6, And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of that great day. So there's no doubt the devil and the angels that followed him, their fate is hell. And they cannot defeat Almighty God. However, since Satan cannot defeat God directly, the focus of his pride and his desire for power not only was to influence other angels to follow him, but now is focused on God's creation, man, made in the image of God. And there is an all-out war. Satan is the adversary of God and man, and he seeks to have all that God has and all that God is. And God has allowed rebellion and sin to continue. And you may wonder why. Well, perhaps it's to show all of creation the end results of disobedience and rebellion toward God, that sin can never produce good results, and so that all of God's creation who refuse his love, his care, his word, his law, are free to choose their pride and sin and to reject him. And none of the angels and none of mankind can ever doubt for all of eternity that to rebel and sin always leads to defeat, to destruction, and to God's judgment. God's way is the only way for life, for joy, for goodness, for peace, for love, and for reward. He alone is God, and all of his creations belong and are answerable to him. But if we choose, like Satan, to have our own way, to be our own God, then God will allow us to do that, and He will remove His goodness from us. And there is a place called hell that is very real. And not only will Satan and his fallen demons go there, but all those who reject Christ will go there as well. And it's their choice. God takes no one kicking and screaming into heaven, but He said, whosoever will come to me, He will offer you life, everlasting life. That's our prayer for you here at Swordbox. Well, God bless you. We're going to keep plugging along, and we're going to dig deeper and deeper and learn more and more about devils. We're going to learn more about what's going on in the spiritual warfare. So I hope you tune in each and every day. And make sure that you stay tuned. Saturday, David's going to be doing some special music, and of course he'll bring a short word with that as well. God bless you. We'll see you back here tomorrow.